In today's workplace, the front lines of business aren't just in the marketplace. They're inside the conference room. They're in Slack channels. They're in the unspoken tension between a company's profits and its principles. More than ever, personal values are shaping professional lives. For Generation Z, this isn't a preference, it's a prerequisite. They don't just want a job, they want a mission. A viral sentiment echoes across social media, a mantra for this new workforce. Gen Z would rather quit than work for a company that goes against their values. It's a declaration of war on the old psychological contract, the one that traded loyalty for a paycheck. But what happens when this unshakable conviction collides with the realities of quarterly earnings and legacy systems, especially in companies led by millennials, the very generation that first championed purpose at work? This raises a fundamental question, one that keeps leaders up at night. What will millennial managers do when their youngest employees demand not just a salary, but a soul? Don't miss out on insightful workplace culture analysis. Hit the subscribe button now to catch our latest episodes. 1. The Unshakeable Codex, Deconstructing Gen Z's Core Values. To understand the conflict, you first have to understand the code. For Gen Z born roughly between 1997 and 2012, their value system isn't a set of ideals they aspire to. It's their operating system. It's non-negotiable. This codex is built on 5 core pillars: radical sustainability, authentic social justice, structural diversity, and inclusion, holistic mental well-being, and absolute ethical transparency. This isn't just talk. The data shows that a staggering 70% of Gen Z would consider leaving a job if the company doesn't align with their values. Nearly half have already turned down a potential employer because of a negative environmental or social impact. But why are these values so deeply embedded? Why are they non-negotiable? To answer that, we need to look at the world that shaped them. A generational psychologist might explain it like this: Gen Z is the first generation to have spent their entire adolescence immersed in some form of crisis, economic, political, social, or environmental. They grew up in the shadow of the Great Recession, witnessing their parents' financial anxiety. They are digital natives who have seen global injustices and corporate malfeasance play out in real time on their screens. For them, climate change isn't a future problem, it's a present and clear danger. This constant exposure to systemic fragility has hardwired a sense of pragmatism, social responsibility, and a demand for accountability into their DNA. This upbringing created a generation of what you might call digital detectives. They don't take a company's mission statement at face value. They cross-reference it with Glassdoor reviews, dig into supply chain reports, and check political donation records. For them, authenticity isn't a marketing buzzword, it's a verifiable data point. And when a company's actions don't match its words, the consequences are swift, severe, and often public. 2. Flashpoints, narratives of values in collision. These value clashes aren't theoretical. They are happening every day, creating flashpoints that can either tear a team apart or force a necessary evolution. Let's look at 2 stories. Story 1, the unethical scene at Aura Apparel. A trendy fast fashion brand, the marketing is all about sustainability and empowerment. But a group of Gen Z employees hired for their passion for ethical fashion starts digging. They discover one of Aura's largest suppliers is notorious for labor exploitation, a direct violation of the values the company preaches. Armed with evidence, they approach their millennial manager, Alex. We were devastated. We showed Alex the reports, the articles, everything. We joined Aura because we believed in their mission. We told him we have to drop this supplier now. We thought he'd be on our side. But Alex is caught. He reports to a Gen X director who sees the supplier contract worth millions as untouchable. He hesitates, promising to look into it. For the Gen Z team, hesitation is complicity. They give him an ultimatum: cut the contract, or they'll launch a TikTok campaign exposing the hypocrisy using the hashtag #AuraUnethical. What am I supposed to do? I have a board breathing down my neck about profit margins and a team ready to burn the company down on social media. I believe in what they're saying, but changing a global supply chain isn't like flipping a switch. They see a moral absolute. I see a logistical nightmare with massive financial fallout. The standoff escalates a perfect storm of Gen Z activism and millennial managerial paralysis. Story 2, the empty promise of inclusion. Over at Innovatech. A fast-growing software company, the career page is a vibrant collage of diversity. But for Kai, a Gen Z software engineer and member of the LGBTQ+ community, the reality feels hollow. Leadership is homogenous. There are no funded employee resource groups or ERGs, and the company's support for Pride Month felt like a marketing exercise. For Gen Z, DEI isn't a checkbox, it's a structural requirement. Over half would not accept a job at a company without diverse leadership. Kai drafts a detailed proposal for a formal funded DEI council with real decision-making power and presents it to their millennial boss, Sarah. Sarah, under immense pressure to ship a new product, dismisses it. Honestly, my first thought was, I don't have time for this. I told Kai it was a great idea for later, but right now it felt minor unnecessary. We had deadlines. But for Kai, it wasn't minor. It was a rejection of their identity and their values. To them, Sarah didn't just postpone a project. She invalidated a core part of who they are. The result, Kai is now quietly interviewing with competitors. Innovatech is about to lose a talented engineer, not because of pay or workload, but because its promise of inclusion was just an empty slogan. 3. The millennial squeeze caught between profit and principle. These stories highlight the immense pressure on millennial leaders. They are often called the bridge generation, and right now, that bridge is being pulled in two opposite directions. On one side, they have Gen Z employees who are essentially their ideological younger siblings. Millennials were the generation that first brought conversations about purpose, flexibility, and work-life balance into the mainstream. They get what Gen Z wants. On the other side, they report to Gen X and Boomer leadership who often rose through the ranks in a world that prioritized shareholder value above all else and measured work ethic in hours at a desk. This creates the millennial squeeze. A millennial CEO might describe the feeling like this. I understand what my Gen Z team wants because I want it too, but I have to translate their passion into a language the board understands. They say, this is unethical. I have to reframe it as this supplier represents a significant reputational risk that could impact our stock price and talent pipeline. My job isn't just managing people anymore. It's being a cultural and financial translator. It's exhausting, and it puts me in a constant state of negotiation between the world we want to build and the one that still pays the bills. This unique position, however, also presents a unique opportunity. The millennial manager is becoming the most critical change agent in the modern organization. Their ability to bridge this value gap will determine whether their company stagnates or innovates. 4. From conflict to catalyst, the alchemists of corporate culture. So how do you turn this generational friction into fuel for growth? Some forward-thinking companies are already showing the way, transforming value conflicts into their greatest strategic assets. Take companies that have embraced radical transparency in their environmental, social, and governance or ESG policies. Responding to both internal and external pressure, they've done more than just launch a recycling program. They've re-engineered their supply chains, published detailed sustainability reports, and tied executive bonuses to hitting climate targets. A leader at one such company told us, "Listening to our Gen Z employees wasn't a cost. It was a masterclass in future-proofing our brand. Our ESG scores improved, our employee engagement skyrocketed, and our customers rewarded us for our authenticity. We stopped seeing their demands as a threat and started seeing them as a free consultation from the future." Other companies are institutionalizing Gen Z's voice. Instead of waiting for conflicts to erupt, they're building permanent channels for dialogue. At Zurich Insurance, a forum called Zurich Next was created to allow younger employees to challenge the status quo and shape the company's direction. Other innovative firms like Gucci and Deloitte have established shadow boards or junior advisory boards, groups of non-executive younger employees who consult directly with senior leadership on strategic initiatives. These aren't just suggestion boxes, they are formal structures designed to embed the next generation's perspective into the corporate DNA, ensuring that values aren't just a talking point, but a driving force in every major decision. 5. The Playbook for a Purpose-Driven Future. So what are the actionable strategies that leaders can implement right now? We spoke to management experts and ESG consultants to build a playbook. It comes down to 3 core principles. First, active listening and validation. Don't wait for the exit interview. Create formal channels like councils' dedicated check-ins or reverse mentoring programs where Gen Z can voice their value-based concerns without fear of dismissal. The key is to validate their perspective even if you can't immediately grant their request. Acknowledging the why behind their ask builds crucial psychological safety. Second, radical transparency and concrete action. Gen Z has an allergy to woke-washing and greenwashing. They demand a blueprint, not buzzwords. This means publishing transparent, data-driven reports on your DEI and ESG progress. Set measurable goals and hold yourself publicly accountable. If you say you value diversity, show them the diversity statistics of your leadership team. If you say you're sustainable, show them your supply chain audit. And third, integrate values directly into business strategy. ESG can no longer be a siloed PR function. It must be woven into the fabric of your business model. Link ESG targets to financial performance. Evaluate capital investments through a sustainability lens. Make ethical conduct a core metric in performance reviews. When values become a KPI, the entire organization shifts. An ESG consultant put it to us this way, and it's a point backed by a mountain of research. It's simple. Companies with higher ESG scores consistently demonstrate better long-term financial performance. But more than that, they foster higher employee engagement and are magnets for top talent. In today's market, a strong ESG strategy isn't about being woke. It's about being a well-run, resilient, and profitable business. 6. Conclusion: the Great Realignment. Ultimately, the clash between Gen Z's values and traditional business practices isn't a threat. It's a signal. It's a powerful, persistent reminder that the world is changing and that businesses must adapt or be left behind. Millennial leaders positioned at the heart of this transformation have the crucial role of guiding their organizations through this great realignment. It's a shift away from a singular focus on profit toward a more holistic definition of success, one that balances profit with people and the planet. When companies genuinely commit to this new model, they don't just attract and retain a passionate, purpose-driven generation of talent. They build stronger brands, mitigate future risks, and create a more sustainable future for everyone. The war for talent is evolving into a war for values. And in this new landscape, the companies that win will be the ones that prove their purpose is more than just a poster on the wall. So we want to hear from you. Have you ever stood up for a value at your company? What was the outcome? Share your story in the comments below or tag a friend, a boss, or a colleague to get them thinking about this too. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to GenShift for the next video. Thanks for watching.